Hello and welcome to episode number 328. This is the Project Management Podcast at pm-podcast.com, and I'm Cornelius Fichtner. And if you are listening to this interview, then you are one of our premium subscribers. Thank you so much for your financial support of the Project Management Podcast. I really do appreciate it. According to Harold Kersner, we project managers spend 90% of our time communicating. And according to the title, Bill Dow's new book, Project Management Communication Tools, is 100% about, well, communication tools. And since Agile is the hot topic of today, a large portion of the book is devoted to Agile communications and Agile communication tools. So, in this interview, Bill and I review Agile dashboards, Agile meetings, and even Agile estimation. And now, if you spend 90% communicating, what are you doing with the other 10%? Enjoy the interview.
The Project Management Podcast's feature interview.
Today with Bill Dow, PMP, author and PMO lead.
Bill, welcome back to the program.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So we are continuing to talk about your new book, Project Management Communication Tools, and we are now going to be delving into Agile. You've made a big commitment to Agile in that book, put a number of Agile tools into it. Why now? Why did you add Agile communications?
I did. I spent a lot of time. Agile's hot, right? Agile is the latest, greatest. We've got, everything's going to Agile. Waterfall is really kind of slowing down a little bit, and the world is kind of pointing to Agile. So I thought the time was right. I think it needed in the edition. I do have a special call out though, Kevin Riley, who's an Agile expert. I believe has been on your program before.
Yeah, multiple times.
He wrote the Agile tools for my book. So he did an amazing job. He put in Agile meetings, Agile tools, burn down charts. So we've got some great stuff there. And Kevin was a great asset to the book.
So question totally out of the blue that I was just thinking about. You said Agile is hot right now, so you've added this. Have you seen anything on the horizon that will be in a future book of yours? Is there anything coming up that you think, oh, you know what, in a new book, that's going to be hot. I'm going to have to think about adding that.
Yeah, potentially scaled Agile framework.
Safe.
That's safe. That's kind of the next thing right now. I still feel it's very, very new. It seems to be a little bit more marketing materials than actual, but I've done a lot of research on it. Microsoft was starting to look at bringing that in. So no, that's probably where I would go next.
Okay.
But yeah, not at this point now.
What was the hardest thing to write about in regards to Agile communication?
I don't think there was necessarily any hard things. There's a lot of tools. It's just a matter of picking which tools were really communication focused. Again, the book is really about communications. And so when Kevin and I sat down, we looked at the tools and we said, hey, what tools should we put in there? There's a million tools out there, but which ones are going to be the most effective from a communication tools perspective? And that's exactly what we did, is we really focused on the best communication tools, Agile project meetings and burn down charts and some all good communications.
Okay. And we also want to make it absolutely clear your book is not an Agile communications book, right? It is a project management communications book that happens to include Agile and happens to include social media from the previous interview.
Right. Yeah. So it's not a waterfall book. It's not an Agile book. It's a project management book. And using those two development methodologies, you can certainly help you execute your project from a communication perspective.
Agile and waterfall, they are, fundamentally different. Have you noticed that you had some integration issues when it came to the tools? Because, they're sometimes so different and we communicate so differently in these project types.
Yeah, we didn't really look at it from an integration perspective. We said, we really didn't. We really looked at from a PMI framework perspective, we said, which tools would we use from an Agile perspective in which areas of the project? So in integration, for example, we use Agile project meetings, Agile product vision statements. So we really looked at it from a pure PMI perspective, exactly the way we did the last book, but we applied Agile to those particular PMI areas, knowledge areas in this particular case.
Okay. Anytime you think about Agile from a project communications perspective, you have to think about dashboards and various reports that Agile teams use to communicate project information. So what dashboards or reports do you recommend that our listeners can use immediately on their projects?
Yeah, Kevin did a great job. He called them information radiators, which Agile dashboards, information radiator, same things. We put in product roadmaps, user story maps, product vision, risk boards. And really the goal was to get project managers communicating as much as possible. He had burn down charts, burn up charts, dashboards, velocity tracking charts. So lots and lots and lots of tools that people can use immediately on their projects.
Mm-hmm. And I think the benefit of having this physically in front of you with your book is you don't have to go out there and figure out now how do we do communication, because Scrum and many of the other Agile frameworks, well, there are frameworks. They're not prescriptive methodologies that say, if you are in stage A, you have to use X. If you are in stage B, you must use this. It's more a descriptive and overall description of this is how we manage an Agile project. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. But my book actually goes to prescriptive. So we do an introduction. So here's the Agile project vision statement. Here it is. Here's what it looks like. And then we go real detailed. Here's when you'd use it. Here's an example. And we go very, very detailed for every one of these tools.
Okay. And I can already tell you that if Kevin did it, then I know exactly which of these falls, because Kevin in my own company, he was the consultant we used to implement Agile methodologies. And he defined for us, when do we use which of the communication tools and when do we use which of the various meetings and what is the input and the output. So very detailed there. And if the quality of what he did for you is similar to what he did for us, we changed from a regular waterfall approach company to a almost 100% Agile approach. Yep. Very nice.
He did a great job. We're really excited to have the tools in there. He did a wonderful job.
Okay. So let's move on to those meetings, because a key part of running an Agile project is having these meetings, planning meetings, stand-ups, etc. Do you explain these and take out any confusion that some Agile 100%. Practitioners run into?
Yeah, 100%. It all goes into detail. So we've detailed Agile sprint planning meetings, Agile daily stand-up meetings, Agile sprint reviews. Again, we've seen that confusion as well. We hear so much about what meetings do I run? When do I need to run them? What happens in each of them? All of those details are covered with any Agile team member can start to use immediately.
Mm-hmm. Is there an overview available that sort of in a table says this meeting, use it here, there, and then? Almost like, a PMBOK guide, page 61, where you have the knowledge areas and the process groups with the individual boxes, what goes where?
Yeah, there's not really an overview per se, but we based it on the PMI knowledge areas and lifecycle processes. So when you go through the book and you see how it's laid out as it was laid out with the first Bible, this is the exact same thing. So people can very quickly see when you use them.
Okay.
There's not an issue there at all.
One item I always have problems with is, when do I do this meeting again? When is the strategy session needed? When, the daily stand-up, that's daily, but, all the others. Do you go into that as well?
We don't describe necessarily the Agile methodology, as we don't describe the waterfall methodology. Again, we want it to be a pure project management book with a PMI lens, so we don't go into that type of detail.
All right. One of the challenges that Agile leaders run into when they're managing their project is the estimating process, especially when you talk to a customer and go, how much does it cost? And it's like, what Agile estimation tools do you recommend for our listeners?
Kevin did a great job. So Agile estimate is challenging. It often takes Agile teams several sprints to get estimates accurate. In Chapter 7, Kevin loaded us up with Agile estimate tools. We have Agile relative sizing, Agile story points, Agile planning poker, Agile team velocity. So I'm really proud of all the tools that Kevin got in there and put in there from an estimating perspective. Any reader, any Agile person would be able to go through and understand exactly how to estimate.
Okay. At the time of when we're recording this, it's 14 days until PMI makes a change to their PMI ACP exam. And an interesting change that they're making to that is they're adding a tool to be used at the beginning of an Agile project, creating high-level estimates without even knowing the velocity, without even knowing much of the project. Do you give any help in regards to that particular aspect?
I don't. It's very, very difficult to keep up with PMI and all the changes and all the changes they do. And so, no, this version hasn't. I certainly have the ability to go add maybe a little bit later. We can go look at that once that gets solidified a little bit. But anything that PMI puts out, obviously great material, but sometimes I think it does need to solidify and a little bit of time needs to go by to work out all the kinks. And that's something I can certainly add later.
Okay. At this point in the first interview, I asked you, now, wait a minute, this is not a social media book that you've written. And so at this point, wait, this is not an Agile book you've written. It's a communications book.
Right.
And we said, about 5% of the book is social media. How much would you say is Agile?
Oh, there's a lot.
So it's more.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. Oh, no, It's a lot more. Yeah, there's a lot of tools. There's 61 total tools. I don't have the exact count. I think there's 15, 16 Agile tools.
Okay, so about a third of the tools.
A third or, there's quite a bit of Agile in there for sure.
Okay. Yeah. And since we have so many tools here, my final question for you, therefore, is this. Give our listeners your top 3 to 4 tips about how to implement on their project. Because for social media, we had those 5 steps. Do you have anything similar that you can recommend? How do I implement all these tools?
Yeah, so you crawl, walk, run, right? Crawl, walk, run. Like I said, there's 61 tools in the book. You certainly can't implement them all. That would just be project management overhead that you wouldn't do. And so when I look at these and I look at these tips and I look at all the tools there, I really think, well, let's start real slow. Let's start with some of the basic tools, status reporting, risk and issue. And we really crawl, right? We get some of the DNA of project management down there. And then we start moving up to risk dashboards and really start advancing. So the book is laid out with all the tools. They don't say, start here, start there, because everyone's at certain levels. But there's a number of tools in there to literally let project managers execute and communicate effectively. And you just have to slowly start going into it. If you're running an Agile project, you'll start looking at some of the Agile meetings and some of the dashboards and some of the information radiators out there. So that would be probably my biggest tip, is really crawl, walk, run, and really start slowly and start implementing slowly and just get the DNA down.
All right. Once again, the book is called Project Management Communication Tools. It is written by Bill Dow and Bruce Taylor, with a large part on the Agile side by Kevin Riley, who's been on the program here before. The book is 738 pages thick and self-published by Dow Publishing, LLC. Thank you very much, Bill.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
And that was our interview with Bill Dow on Agile communications from his book, Project Management Communication Tools. That's it for today. Thank you very much for listening. As always, you can find us on the web at pm-podcast.com. Please send your emails to info@pm-podcast.com, and when you write, please do tell me where in the world you are writing from. Are you PMP certified and want to earn 37 PDUs quickly and for less than $5 per PDU? Well, that's no problem with the Agile Prepcast. It not only prepares you for your PMI ACP exam, but also qualifies for a ton of PMP PDUs. Please visit agileprepcast.com/PDU for the details. And finally, we have this oldie but goldie. The first 90% of a project takes 90% of the time, and the last 10% takes the other 90%. Until next time.